All righty, going live on Facebook. Okay, let's see. I believe we are live. Okay, we are live on Facebook. Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode number 3 of the Blossoming Into You show. As mentioned before, the intention and the vision behind this Blossoming Into You series is to provide a safe, nurturing, and supportive platform for women across the globe to fully express themselves mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and sexually. And today with us, we have Robin, who is from Monterey, California, which we talked about how beautiful it is there. And we're going to be talking about how to come back home to who we are in our bodies, as who we are authentically after transitioning, becoming a mother, which I think is very special. So, with that being said, Robin, welcome. I'm so excited to have
Hi.
you.
Thank you, Miko. I'm so excited to be here.
You are so welcome. Before we jump into this conversation, Robin, care to share? I mean, this is really our first time to, even for me, to connect with you on this way. Tell us more about you. Like, I know you have a precious little one, Xander, super adorable. So, like, tell us more about your transition to motherhood. How was that like for you?
Absolutely. So before I became a mother, I dedicated so much time and energy to self discovery and self care and self love practices, and just assumed that those were going to seamlessly carry over into my pregnancy and life postpartum. But that was not the case. And it seemed like as soon as I got pregnant, I went from this newfound state of flow into struggle, into doing things that my baby required that weren't necessarily what I had planned on doing.
Mhm.
Um, After my son was born, I had a few health challenges and we had some traumatic issues. I actually received therapy for it afterwards because I couldn't really get past that part of my life.
Mhm.
Um, and that helped immensely. But I find that even now, my son is 4, I'm still trying to find a place of self love and acceptance again,
Mhm.
because motherhood was such a gateway for me to this new expression of my body and my spirit. So I find myself lost sometimes because I don't have a strong template. I don't have a great relationship with my mother. So I am floundering sometimes trying to find out how to heal myself and be the best expression of myself, both so that I can live a fulfilling existence and just have a full example for my son.
Mm. Such a beautiful share. Thank you, Robin, for starting off by telling us a little bit more about you. And before we
Mm.
jump into this, I do want to take some time to acknowledge you. Like, you are just such a beautiful, radiant light. And thank you for doing this work. Thank you for saying yes to yourself and seeking, like, taking initiatives for jumping on not only like my 21 day summit that just finished
Mm.
on self love, and now you are doing this. I know it takes so much courage to be able to even go on like a Facebook Live, sharing about ourselves, sharing about who we are with the entire like planet for
Yeah.
wherever this goes, right? Whoever gets to see this. But I think it's really powerful and beautiful as well, because when we are openly sharing ourselves with the world, like openly being honest, vulnerable, and transparent, then we are also opening permission for others to be seen fully for who they are and where
Mhm.
they're at on the journey. So thank you for being here. Okay, so what I was hearing you say when you were sharing about the transition, how things may have shifted so dramatically after giving birth, and but I'm
Mhm.
also hearing there's almost like an attachment to how things used to be or how you
Mhm.
used to feel in regards to personal growth, like self-love. So do you catch yourself having this expectation that even your journey to self-love and transformation gets to look a certain way? Is there an attachment to that?
Absolutely.
Okay, so
I
tell me
feel
more
like,
about this.
yes. So I had picked up a lot of, I would call them masculine energy habits, was very disciplined in my diet and exercise.
Mhm.
Um, I had really worked to get to a place where I felt like my body was the way I wanted it to be. I had kind of beaten it into submission, for lack of a better term, just from maybe not the most healthy habits at the time. Um, that since having my son have not worked. So I find myself in a place where movement and eating and nutrition, all of it is like learning it all over again because I'm not doing it necessarily to get back to the size two that I was before my son came along. That's never going to happen. That part of my life is in the past, just like I would never want to give up my son and go back to that life. I also really struggle with not looking back at that version of me and thinking that that is the ideal version of Robin. That's the Robin that the world expects from me, and this Robin is not worthy.
Mm, okay. So what I'm hearing you say is like almost you experience the extremes on both ends. Like on one
Yeah.
spectrum, you were so hustling, like driven by these steps or processes or the formulas to get to the ideal way or to become the ideal version of Robin that society has accepted. And then when you gave birth, when you have a precious little child, it almost put a complete pause on all of those ways of being and the ways of doing things, the ways of going about things. And it forced you to completely almost like drop into the state of surrender, drop into a state of receiving and allowing and exploring into the side of you that may have been so disconnected, like in the feminine side of you, the essence. So what I'm also experiencing then, like right now, you're in a beautiful stage of learning how to integrate those two versus being so much on like the opposite ends.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. Okay. So Robin, tell me about your definition. Like who when a lot of the times when we on this journey of personal growth, like seeking to better ourselves, seeking to improve, we have this idea or this concept that this version of us gets to be the version that we want to be, that is accepted, that is the best, that is spiritually woke, whatever that looks like, that we are aiming towards. Everything that we do, the books that we read, the podcasts that we listen to, we're aiming for something that we think is not where it's not right here, right now. So, what is that thing that you're aiming for?
Really, it's self love and feeling at home in this body, this version of my body that is larger, softer, more curvy and round,
Yeah.
and also not as socially acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
It took me a long time to get rid of the old clothes, to stop looking back at only the old pictures. I'm really
Mm-hmm.
sad to say I think there's only maybe one or two pictures of me and my whole family, my husband and my son, in the 4 years of my son's life, because I see pictures of me and delete them and think, oh no, like let me lose another 10 pounds. Let me do something different with my hair and my makeup.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that the end goal for me really would be to feel worthy in the present, to feel beautiful and really just okay as I am without having to lose the weight or change anything, just really feeling at home here.
Mm. Okay, so Robin, tell me more about this feelings of unworthiness. So is that associated to like your body size or your body image? Tell me more about that.
Oh, definitely.
Mm.
I I was a very bookish and lonely child, and I was always a little bit larger, always a little bit softer than I wanted to be until high school when I developed an eating disorder. And that seemed to be when I would get attention, when people would connect with me, when I suddenly was worthy in everyone else's eyes. So I definitely equate that with a sense of self worth.
Mm-hmm.
Um, of course, in pregnancy, you're supposed to gain weight. My body had a really hard time gaining weight. I actually didn't start showing until my third trimester. And it was really dangerous because my son just could not get the nutrition that he needed. I was very sick.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, my body was just kind of going against what I felt was right, what you should be doing. And it seems like ever since then, that feeling of I'm beautiful, I'm accepted, I'm worthy, I'm loved has been more of a struggle, more of a how can I punish my body into being what I needed to be. And my body's responded and said, nope, that's not what we're doing anymore. Because all of the diets I've tried, all of the like really hardcore movement I've tried is just not what I need anymore. So that
Mm,
self worth is definitely tied into my pant size and the number on the scale, and definitely my outward appearance.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, so it sounds like this was already happening way before you became a mother.
Yes.
So, growing up, you had developed a relationship with your body that if I look a certain way, if it weighs a certain number, like on the scale, then that would equal to how much love or attention or approval I will receive from people around me. So if you can like go back in time and really think about where this first started, like can you think of an incident where all of this started? When did you start making this association between your body image versus how worthy you are?
It was very early. It was
Mm,
probably in my first 5 years or so.
mhm,
My family was not my parents, but their parents were very strict, very disciplined, very
mhm,
concerned with appearances. And
mm,
so I internalized that. I
mhm,
remember one like Thanksgiving dinner, my great grandmother had said to me, like, oh no, you don't need to get seconds when everybody else was getting up to get seconds. And so
mm,
I was this little child that thought, okay, there's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with me that I need to change and that I need to work to change. And
mm,
because I am a workaholic in a way, because I do usually connect much easier to that masculine hustle. I would always try to find a way to push myself into being a certain meeting a certain standard of beauty or whatever
mhm.
it may be.
Okay, so the earliest incident you can think of was when grandma told you don't get seconds, and in a way
Yeah,
was hinting at you're big enough, like you don't need more food.
yeah.
And how, in that
Mhm.
moment, how did am I is my internet okay, Robin? Just want to make sure. Am I glitchy?
A little bit glitchy, but that's okay.
Okay, it's all perfect. It's all happening. Okay, so I'm back. I can hear you now.
Okay.
It's probably on my end, but anyways, okay. So Robin, in that moment when your grandma said that, like, how old were you?
I was about 5 years old, so about my son's age now.
5 or 6, you said.
Mhm.
Okay, so Robin, tell me more. Like, you were age 5 or 6 when that incident with
Yes.
grandma happened. Okay, so in that moment, tell me more about how you felt. What did you internalize about yourself when grandma said?
The first thing I really internalized was just that I needed to be less. Outwardly, I needed to lose weight. I needed to kind of rein in who I was in order to be accepted, in order to be loved and worthy.
Okay, so that's huge. You made up a story that essentially, if I were to be small, if I were to, and that's small in not only body size, but also in how you show up, in how much you're being seen by people, how much your voice gets heard, then I will be accepted. Then I will be worthy. Then I will get the love from the people that I get love from growing up as a little child. Yeah. Okay. So, and then has food became something that you use to numb out the emotions, or what has been your relationship with food like since then?
So in high school, I was anorexic. So I used food to control the chaos of, of high school life. And then after my pregnancy, food became a great numbing agent for when I was triggered by a traumatic incident or things again were just out of control. Then I would get more into binge eating and eating large quantities of things that may or may not be nutritious because it was a moment's pause in an otherwise crazy day. I've worked on that piece quite a bit, and I feel like my nutrition has been much more solid, but it's still those triggers, that desire will always be there to grab something easy that's going to kind of take me out of a stressful situation.
Okay. And do you feel that right now where you're at on your journey with, the way your body is exactly perfect, like the way it is, but at the same time, it's like a reflection of maybe it's here to tell you something. It's almost like, finally, Robin, I get to be seen. I get to be acknowledged. Like maybe it's some emotions are finally rising up to the surface for you, and it's being reflected maybe in your body size, like in how much you weigh. Do you feel that maybe some of that is coming up for you right now after you gave birth?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like I had tried so hard to control things. And in a world where we don't always have control, where we most of the time don't have control. And my body is saying it is not something to be controlled. My spirit is saying it's not something to be controlled. It wants to be unleashed. It wants to be seen as it is. And I think the hardest thing for me is coming to terms with what I feel like is the ideal, the perfect mom, the organized mom, the mom that, is really cute and tiny in her yoga pants and doing 1,000 things at once with her kids. Like, that's not necessarily who or how I am. And I just don't want to fail. Like, this is the most important job in my life, and I want to be great at it. I want the world to see that I'm great at it. I don't want people to think that because I don't have control over my body size that I'm not a good mom. Because I think that that really is the ultimate reflection on my discipline and my habits and my lifestyle.
It's interesting, Robin, that control came up for you several times. What would you say is the overall dominating thing that you're looking to control?
Oh my goodness.
You
Everything.
feel so
Control
out of
is
control about? Like what is the one thing that you feel like you never had control over?
just kind of stability and security growing up. My home life was very abusive and very inconsistent. So I really work to make sure that our home is a loving and safe environment. And again, kind of parenting without that template of a loving and safe environment is really hard.
Yeah.
It's really, really hard because I have to parent myself at the same time. My husband's doing the same thing. And so we just are exhausted. We're tired a lot of the time because we just have to find better ways of doing things. My parents would get angry at me and yell and hit me. We don't do that with our son. So instead, we have to mentally pause, take ourselves out of the moment, just develop these new habits that are, they're not difficult. I don't want to hit my son. I don't want to be a violent parent, and I never have been. But
So I hear
it's
you, Robin, 100%. You are okay. So Robin, I was saying I hear you 100% on the commitment you are as a mom to Xander and as a wife. But right now we get to hold space for the little girl in you that felt so traumatized and unsafe growing up. So, and as a result of that, as a protective mechanism, as a way to protect yourself from the fear of unknown, from the lack of stability, you develop a need to control everything, controlling your
Yeah.
weight, controlling how you show up, how you look like, even controlling your healing journey now, your journey of transformation. You're trying to control that. You're trying to make it look a certain way, to go at a certain speed or a certain rate, so that you can feel a sense of safety. You can feel a sense of security. Tell me more about this lack of, how did the lack of safety show up for you at home?
It it was a lot of financial insecurity,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes food instability, sometimes just my dad would always threaten us with if we did something wrong, he was going to send us to a foster home. Like there was just this complete feeling of if I mess up, all of this is gone.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a terrifying way to grow up. I don't ever wish that on any little child.
Okay. Do you have siblings, Robin?
I do. I have two older brothers.
Okay. Were you ever responsible, feeling like you get to protect them too? Did you experience your parents not being nice to your brothers?
Yes, I very much did, especially with one of my brothers. I was the youngest,
Mm-hmm.
and my mother would, as my dad would get violent, my mother would come to me for comfort. So I
Mm-hmm.
was kind of just the parent in that situation, the one providing the care instead of the parent saying, this is inappropriate, I'm going to stop it, or you're going to be okay. It was,
Yeah.
I have to be okay so that my mom is okay and so that my brother survives this. And
Yeah.
it was a
Okay.
lot.
Okay. I asked that because even now, Robin, I'm experiencing that there's a tendency to, like, there's a little part of you, there's a little girl in you that was afraid, that was in pain, that really just needed safety and security from people around her, but you had to really take care of yourself first and then focusing outward. You had to be the person there for your mom, for your brothers. So it was almost like you've developed this tendency to look for ways to support other people, so you don't need to be with your pain, so you don't need to feel everything that wanted to come out. It's almost like it was a numbing mechanism. So even now, you are focusing so much on becoming the best mom that you can be, becoming the best wife that you can be. And I'm not telling you to forget about that. I'm not saying to, like, don't be the best mom that you can be, but notice if you're doing so as a way to avoid being there for you.
Mhm.
Is that is that true in some sense?
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes. Even the work that I do professionally is supportive work. Like I
Mm,
am 100% the cheerleader of my community and um, everyone around me, and that's totally it. I mean, like you said, it's just another way to control, another way for me to avoid the hard things, the painful things.
mm. Do you feel that maybe the weight that you have now that you so desire to get rid of, it's the same weight that's been on your shoulders for as long as you can remember?
Yeah, definitely.
Mm. This is so perfect, Robin. Okay. Robin, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Robin, am I back?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to say this is This is all so perfect. And this shows me your power. This shows me your power and how much the resistance to allowing support in can show up for you. This is all resistance that we are sourcing disconnection. And it's almost like maybe there's even some fear that's coming up to be cracked open in this intimate way. So somehow we are sourcing disconnection. And I'm responsible of that too in some ways. But I love that this connection that's happening. And we also get to, every time, next time, like, I don't know what's up with the internet, but like next time when you don't hear me, Robin, I would love to invite you and to encourage you to breathe and to really sit with what's coming up for you. Okay, so I think this is great that it's giving us space to breathe and to really feel what's coming up for you. So we get to embrace the internet issue.
It's a good thing. I am here for it. When I
Thank
did
you.
my therapy postpartum, a lot of what we did was embodying what I was feeling because I am so good at pushing it away. And I found sense that anytime I sing, anytime I move my body, things are released because I have stored it so deeply. So I definitely feel that. And the internet connection is definitely a part of that. It's a frequent occurrence when I do any kind of healing work. So
Yeah. Okay, Robin, would you like to breathe with me together? Just take one deep breath in together. And notice where all the tension in your body is and release all of that. Do you feel tension in your neck areas, like in your shoulder?
shoulders, definitely.
Okay. So we got cut off right when I mentioned the weight that in your body may be reflective of the weight that you felt as others for as long as you can remember.
Yes, I definitely resonate with that. I feel like um, in a way it's a defense mechanism. In a way it is wrapping around me to protect me. It is it's an expression now of the life you live as a mother when you are no longer just controlling yourself. You are surrendering to what your family needs, to what your child needs. And at the same time, I really feel my inner child needs that healing too.
Okay. So, Robin, what are some ways that you tend to yourself now, like on your journey when you're feeling the emotions that come up? What's your approach?
I love to journal. Journaling is my number one thing. I usually just write it all down and then I like to move. I really enjoy yoga. So I like to just move through my body and see where I'm feeling things, where things are stuck, where I need to stretch a little bit more. Yoga used to be something I did to, again, control my body, to be perfect and to push myself. And since having my son, it's about feeling into my body and flowing through a routine and doing what I need to do, not necessarily what my instructor is instructing. um, so again, just kind of leaning into that feminine flow um, of I guess the senses, really engaging my senses.
Okay. Robin, would you be open to doing something courageous together with me
Yes.
right now? Okay. All right. So, share with me a part of your body right now that you have a really hard time accepting or not loving.
I think the biggest is just my stomach. As with
Okay.
most moms, after having a child, after carrying my son,
Yeah.
it is a completely different terrain than it was before.
Okay. So put your hands on your tummy and really like take some time to maybe feel the flaps, maybe feel the parts, maybe it's a little bit too much that you don't like and you wish it's not there. Really feel that, connect to that. And like if you want to close your eyes, you can to support you. Um, as you have your hands like on your tummy, what are the feelings that are coming up for you?
Just growth. Growth, both of the new life that I gave to my son, and to the new life that I gave to myself in saying yes to motherhood.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and really just softness. Softness has been something I've run from my entire life. um, and I think that's really what this chapter of my life is about, is just embracing that.
Okay, so I'm hearing you say it's already acceptance, right? You're already, I'm hearing good stuff about what's coming up for you. Right?
My
Okay.
body, I think, has been there for so long and just been ready to be accepted. It's the mind. It's my mind that's
Okay.
fought so hard against it, I think.
Okay. So continue to close your eyes and connect, and I'll do this together with you. So there are 3 levels of acceptance. The first level is, yes, in the mind. So we can, imagine right now we're talking to this part of ourselves, this belly, this beautiful belly, this womb that carried your precious Xander into this world, brought him into life. And you're telling this part of your belly, I accept you. I love you. And you're saying that with your mind. It's okay, no matter how you look like, I accept you. How does it feel to just say that with your mind?
Really freeing.
Okay.
I'm getting emotional because it's not something I've ever said.
So that's the first level of acceptance. And let's take a couple of deep breaths in, breathing directly to our belly. Okay, and now the next level of acceptance is coming from your heart space. So breathing in with your heart. So your heart is breathing. And the heart is breathing out. And from the depths of this heart space, this heart center that embodies unconditional love, unconditional acceptance, from that place, from that heart center, it's saying, I accept you. This part of me that I had such a hard time accepting, I choose to accept you. You are a part of me. No matter how you look like, no matter how you feel like, no matter how it looks based on society's expectation, I accept you. One more breath from your heart. So breathing in with your heart and breathing out with your heart. So that's the next level of acceptance, which was deeper. And finally, the last step, the last level of acceptance is you get to be acceptance itself. So imagine right now that you're not Robin, that you're not this woman that I'm speaking to, that I'm not Miko, that we are simply just a space right here, this space that it has no boundaries, that it has no physical limitations. We are just this space, infinite space, expanding, touching everything across time and space. You are one with oneness. And from that space, you are being acceptance. You are acceptance itself. And bring your attention to your belly area and feel this belly as immersed in the space that you are. It is just in the space. And you're wrapping it up with so much love, so much unconditional acceptance, because you are acceptance itself. Continue to feel that. Breathing into your belly and breathing out. Hmm. So, this last level of acceptance, how did that feel, Robin?
So good. So
Hmm.
supported and loving, um, and freeing. Just like the greatest struggle was lifted from my shoulders.
Yeah, and that was only one layer of that, right? There's so
Yeah,
many layers and layers of things that we have carried on our shoulders that make us feel a certain way, that feel not worthy, not good enough, not lovable if we look this way. But the work that we just did together, it released some of that. It dissolved some of that by simply being a space of acceptance for this part of you. And that process you can easily do anytime again for anything. Any thoughts about yourself that you don't accept, any feelings of judgment against yourself that you don't like, any um, anger or frustration that you're feeling about where you should be right now in your journey. You can do that process with yourself over and over
I
again.
love it. That is an incredible tool.
And how do you feel right now? What's coming up for you, Robin,
I feel so
as we're
good.
wrapping up?
Just like that was a great release for me to
Mm.
go through that process. And I also feel just held in this space and supported, which feels really good.
Yes. And even on days where maybe it's challenging to be that space for ourselves, we can just lean into the space that's already here. Right? There's
Mhm.
stuff here, like in this space around us, even though we can't see it, but we can feel it. There's this substance, this love, and like allow yourself to fall into that. Allow yourself to fall into the embrace. I love to think of it as Mother Earth, like Mother Nature, right? And or a goddess, some goddess is like wrapping her arms around me. I'm just like surrendering into that. And if you want to like fall into your bed, like get into fetal position, like whatever it is that you need to give yourself that grace. And that's all about dropping into your feminine too, like learning how to surrender and receive the love that's already here.
I love that so much. And I think that that's the perfect template to follow for motherhood is that Mother Nature goddess energy. So that's a much better aspiration for me than trying to be this perfect fake version of myself.
And Robin, this is what I see as possible for you, that the more you do this work of accepting yourself, loving yourself for where you're at right now, the more you will come from a place of making powerful choices and decisions or operating from a place of confidence and power and wholeness. And if you want to work out, if you want to eat right, like it's going to come from a place of empowerment versus I need to do this because I'm in lack, because I'm not
Yeah,
feeling love, right? So it's a very different energy that comes into it. So yes, you can absolutely still work out, you can still lose weight, like whatever it is, but you get to come from a place of I'm doing this because I'm honoring myself, not because I need love that it's
I love
missing.
that. That's such a huge shift. And it feels so good.
Yes, yes, and it's possible. Like you don't buy into the story that because I mean I'm not an expired. Okay, I fully believe that if you desire a certain like body size, like how you want to feel in your body, you get to create it. Like there is no story about I gave birth, so it's impossible. You get to choose, you get to decide and come from a place of love, not coming from a place of shaming yourself.
I love it. Thank you.
Okay, Robin. First of all, I want to say thank you for your grace. Thank you for your patience, your understanding, as we had experienced so much internet disconnection on this call. You've been so graceful with it. You've been so patient with the process, patient with yourself, and that shows me um, the self love that you have for yourself. And then thank you for being courageous and being on here today. I am sure that whatever resonated with the audience that did tune in, that will listen to this, it's going to touch them in a powerful way that will last for years to come. This will be on YouTube. So for whoever is going to watch this, you get to touch them in such a beautiful, sacred way. Is there anything you would like to leave the audience off with before I close this off?
I would just like to say that while it's been a struggle, choosing to be a mother and enter into this phase of my life is also the best decision ever. And thank you, Miko, for just helping me embrace it in a new way and kind of find home and the softness of where my body's at and where I'm at right now. It's really, really a gift to meet with you here.
I just see so much beautiful things ahead of you. This is such a beautiful opportunity for you to continue deepening your relationship with yourself and loving yourself at a level that maybe you never experienced. So I'm really excited for you. Thank you, Robin, and thank you everyone for tuning in, and thank you to all of you as well for being patient with us as we had the internet connection. I'll make sure to figure out what's going on. But with that being said, if you would like a chance to also be featured, just like what Robin has the beautiful chance to come on, you are more than welcome to apply and just fill out a quick application. I'll put the link in the comments below, and I would love to have you. All right, everyone, I'll see you tomorrow for episode number 4. We are going to be talking about how to date again after divorce and betrayal. So that's exciting. All right, everyone, thank you for tuning in. Bye, Robin, and
Bye,
bye.
Miko.
Okay, and